6:30. I'm calling this meeting to order. 6:30 on February 23rd, 2026. I'll stand and do the flag salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor of approving the meeting agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. The agenda is approved. Jackie, do we have any public comments on agenda items?
Chris Drury, but he's a little busy right now, so we'll have to do that a little bit later.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to our student board reps. We'll start with Cameron.
Oh, okay. Actually, you go first. No, Cameron going first. We're just doing it. Yeah. Okay, just to update on, we had our Wrestling State Mat Classic this week, and for the boys, we had Braden Barbolas take 4th. And we had 3 of our girls place, and we had Natalie Roberts take 4th, Evelyn Talbot take 5th, and Kim Pike take 3rd.
Girls basketball made it to playoffs. I think they made it to round 2, something like that. They made it pretty far. Spring sports start next week. We have no comments from our social media account on the phone policy. We don't seem to have any more questions for the semester schedule. It seems as though students are getting used to the idea of it, and they seem pretty okay with it. There are some concerns from upperclassmen, soon-to-be seniors, who are worried about their credits, but I believe the counselors are doing outreach for that. We had Tolo, and we raised a good amount, like a ton of money for our senior class, and more senior events are soon to come.
Yeah, I was at Tolo. Tolo was great. I was really impressed with the leadership putting it together, and yeah, really happy with that.
Thank you.
I told they're ready now.
Okay.
Hello.
Welcome.
Is this my time?
This is your time.
Awesome. Thank you. Come on up, gentlemen.
Awesome.
Please come be up.
Did you get some good pictures when you were out there?
What's that? I got a
Hopefully
few.
We got some good pictures.
Yeah, we had a few, and there was some parents that were standing around. But I guess I'll get started. Thank you for having us today. For those who don't know me yet, my name is Chris Drury. I am the band director at North Mason, band director, choir director at North Mason High School. I've been here for 13 years now, and been working in the high school since the first day I came in here. It is an honor to be here and working with some of the students, and from the people who came today and got to hear, you heard our jazz band performing. They were outside in the other room because we're a little large, about 20-some members right now. These students actually really didn't know that they're going to be performing today. They got a little heads up over a winter break, but then today, this morning, they came at 7 o'clock because our jazz band rehearses as a preschool activity. They are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 until 7:50. These guys get up and make the venture in here. We go out and represent our community across the state of Washington. We recently went to Olympic College and was at the Quincy Jazz Festival, and one of the groups that got a chance to perform there. We have gone as far as Grace Harbor. We have traveled, our marching band has traveled to Washington State University, and we try and spread the good word of Belfair and Mason County wherever we go. Just wanted to kind of bring these guys to everyone and let them know that as much as they are active in the school, we get out into the school, and we appreciate getting our chance to do things like our Belfair Parade, tree lighting when that happens, anything that we have in the community. So if there's community members who would like us to come and be involved, let us know. We have a very full schedule with our band. We have a percussion ensemble. We have our jazz band, choir, and many other groups just at the high school. Our elementary also, and our middle school and elementaries have good music programs that are doing some great things right now, and we love to have them out and active. So the more the community can have us out, let us know. I can be reached either through my school email, or you can be reached on our band app, or we have an old Facebook page which is still used, North Mason High School Band, and you can catch some of the parents posting pictures and those kinds of things on there if anyone would like. Or if you're still around on Thursday, we're having a spaghetti feed right over the high school as our North Mason Music Boosters fundraiser. You'll get to see these guys along with many of the other students who are preparing for our regional solo ensemble contest. Another thing we have going on. This Saturday, we're going to have about 25 to 40 students from North Mason School District traveling to South Kitsap to compete against other musicians from around the area to see if they can achieve a state level ranking and possibly go on to perform and represent the area at our regional contest. But that will be Thursday from 5 till 8. Tickets are available if you'd like. I don't know if I can plug all that stuff or not, but I'm doing it, right? I'm doing it. Anything you guys would like to say?
For letting us play here.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. We always think you sound so great whenever we hear you, so it's nice that everybody here had an opportunity to have a little serenade as they came in. So thank you for making it work and for practicing so early in the morning.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Let Amy go first.
My mom played the harp my entire life. She started in high school, and so we always had to have a vehicle big enough to transport a harp, which was not easy. So I look at that big instrument and think, oof, don't miss those days. So.
That's so cool. Harp, that's really neat.
All right, so moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? I would like to point out that the minutes from the February 9th study session meeting, it's my understanding that the system automatically uses wording that business has been completed and there was a motion, but that was a study session. We don't conduct business at study sessions. There were no motions. So that is a correction that we will work on making to those minutes. So I would like to move that we approve the consent agenda as presented with the corrections to the February 9th minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, none opposed, thank you. Okay, so now Superintendent, you have a presentation?
We actually have a presentation from Belfair Elementary first coming up, so we will invite them on up to talk about all the great things happening at Belfair.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Pam Plessman, the principal of Belfair Elementary School.
And Christy Dalby, assistant principal.
So when we came back together this summer, Christy and I, to talk about what we wanted to highlight this school year, it was really about family engagement and community involvement, getting the community back into the building the best that we could, and what could we offer to families. So we started with just that, family and community engagement, and what that would look like. So our fall festival
Our fall festival was a huge hit. It always is. There's a lot of community sponsorship and community involvement, and our PTA was a huge help with that. Staff gets involved, as you can see, staying in the dunk tank. Luckily, they don't have pictures of me and Pam in that. But yeah, it's always amazing. We always have a fantastic turnout, and it's always a lot of fun for everybody.
Yeah, and it's sponsored by a lot of communities donate time, donate candy, things like that for the event. It's great. So the turkey trot, that's a big one, and Ann Helmick, our PE teacher, puts that on. We have a lot of parents who volunteer for that. A lot of parents donate funds for that as the kids do their run. Chrissy and I donated ourselves to be dressed up as Sundays for that, for the winners of the turkey trot. And then we have our North Mason Fire and Rescue who come out and they really celebrate taking the kids on a ride. And then this year we put Ann Helmick in the truck just to get the feeling for the community of everything that this school does for the kids and who those people are behind all that hard work. Christy and I last year really put our heads together in thinking, how could we get some parenting classes to our parents, especially to our younger students? That's where it really started, looking at our TK program. This year we have a new school psychologist, Justin Washington. He sat down with Christy and I at one of our meetings, and he was all about, let's do parenting classes. We have the need. So we did offer our first series of 4 parenting classes in the fall. We had 2 sets of parents show up for that, and through that we had some great results in student behavior, and parents were excited about those classes, and they want to know how we can get more parents involved. So that's our new round of brainstorming. How can we reach more parents and get them to come into the building for these classes? STEAM night, this was one that our first, something that I've always wanted to put on in a building, been part of many of them. This year we went ahead, we did a lot of reaching out to the community. So we hosted our first STEAM night. We had the Salmon Center involved. We had the hatchery was involved. They donated 6 salmon to us. We had teachers involved. The Navy were involved, and they helped us do a station with rocket launchers, straw rocket launchers. We had Kiva planks from the Navy. They were there. District office members were there. You could see Mr. Ellis in there doing the salmon dissection table, and that was one of the favorite stations of kids. And we had Edison Robotics in there, and the Robotics Club from the upper campus came. Another thing that we had talked about is how could we bring more security into the building, more volunteers. So we brought back our Watchdogs program. We have one very dedicated watchdog, Grandpa, and he comes into our building 3 days a week. So not only is he out on the playground helping support the activity assistants, but he's also volunteering reading in classrooms.
Then we've got our reading night. It's our Reading Olympics that's coming up. So we'll have our reading night. That's what kicks off our whole Olympics, and that's always a well-attended event. And we get the gym all nice and dark. They roll out rugs and put in comfy pillows, and families come and read with their kids. And then again, that kicks off the Reading Olympics, and so there's medals, and it matches up nicely with the Olympics that we just had. So.
And this year's theme is I Love Reading with my Belfair Bobcat. So there'll be a sign up for parents and families to have pictures taken with their child reading with them at the reading night. Yeah. And I don't think we have one more slide. I forgot this slide, sorry about that, was our MLL night. And so that's another big one attended by our MLL families, and they come out, and last year they did a lot of poetry reading and readings for the families. This year, Mrs. Elliott is putting together a wonderful surprise. So we've only heard snippets of it. So we can't wait for that. So those are the things that we've been doing so far to reach out to our community and get people more involved. Oh, also our PTSA is growing, so that's a good thing too.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
so much.
And next we have a presentation from James Taylor, which Mr. Turner will be doing for us because Mr. Quinn is unfortunately ill with the bug that's going around.
Hi, I'm Chris Turner, Director of Systems and Supports, and again, I'm standing in for Mr. Quinn. He's home with the flu. His kids started off with the flu, and then he caught it from his kid and on the go. So our ALE program, if we can go to the next slide, want to get some common terminology. So we throw a lot of terms out there to make sure everybody knows what we're talking about. So mastery-based learning, that's basically the way we assess people. So it's credit earned by proficiency and clearly defined skills and standards. Okay? Project-based learning, that's how we teach it. So we teach standards through a project. We may be teaching English and science at the same time through a project. Hybrid learning, that's a combination of in-person and online learning at the same time. So you may be taking a Edmentum course for one period, then you're doing some project-based learning, and then you might be in a math class, but it's a combination of those two things put together. Basic education allocation. Usually you hear us call this as BEA. That's our funding. That's how what the state gives us for education. It's one of the ways that we're funded. So I don't know exactly what the ratio is, but let's just make a number up. We might get $12,000 a year BEA funding for one kid, something along that line. So alternative learning experience, that's ALE. ALE is another type of funding that we get, and that's different because kids do not attend school. They're not in school for a physical amount of time as students who have BEA funding. They get alternative ways in which they can get their work done. It's an alternative classroom experience. There are certain rules that they have to do, put in so much time online, attendance is taken differently. There's a whole bunch of different rules and a lot of paperwork comes along with it. So just want to keep those in mind as we go. I'll probably mention a lot of those terms. Okay, James Taylor, the program evolution. So it existed before COVID. And then after COVID, it was still just really a credit recovery, an online program. We use currently a company called Edmentum, and so they provide the curriculum, and they have teachers, so we can use their curriculum with our teacher, or we can have them take the class entirely with their teacher. There's a lot of different arrangements that we make. But originally it was credit recovery, help kids get there to graduate. It started morphing into alternative. We really were how we can help our kids learn better, also using credit recovery, and we started working towards a hybrid instructional model. So that was Lexi. She was really moving it in that direction and started creating in-person courses. We found that kids taking math online did not do very well. So we now had them come in and take math in classroom, and we started seeing a lot more success. Then we started building our mastery-based learning classes through project-based learning. And so we're continuing that growth as we go now. The program goal is that we have primarily in-person instruction instead of online learning. We have a belief that when kids are in a classroom with a teacher getting that kind of instruction, you're going to learn more than you will just kind of sitting on the computer going through modules. That's what we're operating off of. Go ahead, next one. Okay, some challenges with ALE. First, our ALE is a 4-day program. Kids go to school between Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They don't go to school on Friday. On Friday, they're required to get a certain amount of time online, which some do and some don't. So that creates some problems. What comes with that is if let's say we have Monday off, which happens a lot, then kids end up with 4 days in a row without any sort of instruction. Ends up being a break of instruction, stops the continuity of instruction and the help. It also stops some of our intervention timeline. So a kid would be struggling, we want to set up something, then we have to wait a while, then we get back with them. It's just not a set schedule where we get our hands with kids consistently. A thing that we say all the time is learning happens in the classroom, so we need to be with the kids in order to do it. So the 4-day-a-week schedule is tough. Also, some kids don't do their time online. And so then that creates more problems because they're not doing the time online. Sometimes we're forced to exit them from the program because of state requirements for ALE funding. The Bell schedule. Currently, the James Taylor is based off of 2 3-hour periods of time. So kids might be taking a project-based learning class for 3 hours, and then in the afternoon they may be taking some Ed Benham classes. The kids usually work on one Ed Benham class at a time. We found that's most successful. Instead of having work 3, they work on 1. Having somebody sit down, work on the computer, internet 3 hours in a row, that's pretty tough. It'd be tough for me, tough for you. It's really tough on kids as well. So those create some impact in their learning, being able to sustain that learning through that time. Even project-based learning, sitting there doing one thing for 3 hours. So the school's gotten really good at being creative about where they do their breaks and where they don't. But a lot of times it's kind of done on the fly, which can create some problems, but they've also done a very good job with that. Last ALE challenge is the double levy failure. This really made us sit back and look, how do we prioritize the funds that we do have and how are we spending them? ALE is not funded as well as BEA, not even close. And so when we start looking at that, and then we dove in and said, well, how's that impacting education? The double levy failure made us really assess, are we doing what's right in our alternative program for kids for the entire district? So these scheduling impacts limited our ability to implement our project-based learning with our mastery-based learning assessments. It basically impacted us across the board. Now, the teacher's been doing a very good job. The principal there's been doing a very good job. We're finding a lot of success, but they're also finding a lot of hills that they really have to work on. So how might we improve that in light of all these things? Go to the next one. Okay, so we're going to transition our ALE program. Let's call our alternative program. Now it will no longer be ALE. We will transition from ALE funding to BEA funding. That brings in more money to the district, allows us to provide better services to kids. So one of those things is that kids will now go to school 5 days a week in person. They don't have Fridays off. They come to school every day just like every other kid in our district. However, we'll still maintain James Taylor being an alternative learning environment. They'll get that type of support in a small school. We learn differently. We do things differently. However, they'll still be there 5 days a week. So those things will stay in there. Another big change is night school and HomeLink programs will conclude. They'll end, allowing the district to concentrate on staffing and resources on programs designed for daily instructional engagement. We would love to offer a program in all realms for everybody. However, HomeLink costs us a lot of money. It doesn't fund itself. And then when we're looking at success and all those kinds of things, there's balances and we have to make really good choices. So those programs will end. So now while James Taylor and HomeLink have been very valued pathways and they've supported students for a long time, they've been really fantastic. The decision really reflects our operational capacity and our program quality. Current staffing, funding, you guys can read it, current staffing and funding levels make it difficult to sustain the level of support students deserve and need in these models. So we're going to relocate our resources, put them into our programming, BEA, and give our students some consistent, extended supports and try to increase their learning opportunities within alternative high school. All right, go to the next one. So this is just a little visual. Things that stay the same. James Taylor is still going to be a smaller school setting. We're going to work on project-based. It's going to be hybrid learning, personalized learning. So in ALE, kids come in and they have to create a student learning plan. James Taylor is still going to do that for kids. It's just not going to be state required, which we have to do for ALE. We'll just adapt it for our program. Changes, it's 5 days a week. HomeLink and night school are no longer there. We'll get more instructional time with our kids. Our fingers will be on them 5 days a week. Our schedule will align with the high school, which allows more opportunities. Let's say if a kid wants to take weight training, they could go over there and take weight training one period and then come back. It opens the door for, with a small school with James Taylor, we had limited CTE options. So now they have all the options at the high school. They could just go up and take a class and come back. It allows us that kind of flexible scheduling with kids, which is, I think that's just a huge one. And ultimately, I think it's going to lead to increased credit completion. So those are some changes. So overall, this is kind of a wrap-up slide. We're going to strengthen all the learning opportunities. We're going to expand daily in-person instruction and student-teacher contact. That's primarily what's happening. Increase access to courses like CTE, pathways, and interventions. It strengthens our mastery-based learning and project-based learning implementation because we get kids 5 days a week. It aligns our staffing and resources to create a stable, sustainable instructional model. And it preserves the small, relationship-oriented alternative high school environment. So while funding is no longer ALE, and how we approach James Taylor will be changed, it is still an alternative high school. We need that for our kids. There are some kids that don't operate well in a comprehensive high school of 600, 800 kids. It's too busy, it's too loud, too many transitions. Being in a smaller environment is more important. Having teachers that can give you more attention is what they need. And so that environment is going to stay the same. Also, the mastery-based learning and project-based learning classes are going to allow kids to learn differently. So they'll do a project and then walk away with science credit and English credit. They'll do some other kind of project and they're going to receive some math credits and probably PE credit. So they're busy developing those mastery-based learning classes right now. And so we had some this year, we're developing more, so we get a nice realm of classes for kids as they go through 4 years of school. So, ultimately, our commitment is to provide every James Taylor High School student with consistent instruction, strong relationships, and meaningful pathways to graduation through career readiness. When kids enter James Taylor, we want them to graduate. Whether they enter as a freshman or they come in as a junior, wherever they need James Taylor, we're going to help them reach their success. So, some next steps. We need to notify students and families of the changes. So next year, they'll be attending 5 days a week instead of 4. There won't be a night school. There won't be a home link, but there will be James Taylor. So now all the kids that are in night school and home link right now are automatically accepted into James Taylor. We have the capacity. We're going to make sure that all their needs are met. It will be a transition. Some may say, well, I really, really want to learn at home. We understand that. We are stuck with some of our limitations. We're going to help them transition to be successful at James Taylor. And so we're going to continue to develop more mastery-based learning courses. And we're going to be super flexible on how we work with our students that come in. We have to be. Not only with the kids that come back from our home link program, but with the kids that are enrolling in there. We have to find a way to help everybody be successful within the BEA model, which I think we can totally do. So that's kind of the changes that are coming. Any questions? And I might be able to answer. Yeah.
I'm not going to go in the long strip. My son goes there, so I have questions I can ask tomorrow. What is the future of West Sound Tech for the opportunities down there that they get to go to?
It stays the same.
It stays the same.
Absolutely
Okay.
stays the same. Yes.
Okay, and then
So it gives us actually just a little bit more flexibility with them. But yeah, it stays the same. They can attend West Sound Tech, same as any kid at the high school, no difference.
And then, how often are you going to check or track the changes to ensure that it's successful before there's a problem, if there's going to be a problem?
Love that question. Thanks for asking it. That's part of the base of the model for alternative high school is that constant progress monitoring. Can't allow kids to fall so far behind that they can't catch up. Matter of fact, when they trip, we want to kind of support them to move them. We're not going to let them fall down and help them up. We're going to help support them when they trip. So that progress monitoring is built into James Taylor. That's not going to change. And so while some of the structures change, the supports do not.
Yeah, all right.
What's the current number of night school and home link that would be affected by the changes?
I think night school we have approximately 25, and home link I think we have 37 or something like that. Home link is actually built so we could have 58 or something like that. And so one of the things about our night school program is it's kind of turned where most of our ML kids are attending that, and we don't think that that's the best option for our kids. And so there's just a whole bunch of reasons to bring it back. Plus having a teacher there at night, needing an administrator there at night, there's a lot of problems that arise. And so how do we bring them back and make it be successful? So it's going to impact some 50 kids in that way.
And you mentioned the MLL. Will having them during the day perhaps help with having additional support there as far as language, etc.?
I think it will help tremendously. We have a fantastic ML teacher down there. When she spends half her day in the evening, that means she's not supporting other kids during the day. So it's going to allow us to integrate kids into all of our classes in a much greater capacity than we've been able to do before.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate the definitions of the terms with ALE. It's a different world, so I appreciate that. I did want to point out, you mentioned CTE, and schools choose either BEA funding or ALE funding. If you choose BEA funding, you can receive additional funds for CTE, but if you choose ALE funding, you do not get CTE, the enhanced CTE funding. Even if you're trying to offer CTE courses to your ALE students, you're gonna have to pay for that a different way, or a lot of districts just don't offer that option because they don't get the money for it from the state. So that is definitely a plus, that if we are claiming BEA funding, we can then possibly claim the CTE funding as well. I sent many questions to Superintendent Michael. I'm not sure if she's able to answer them, but this is devastating to me. I think most of the board and some of the administrators know that I was the online learning manager for the state during the pandemic, before and after the pandemic. And I really have a place in my heart for students that learn differently. And I would brag about this model I spoke to dozens and dozens of districts. And I would brag about our model because we had a night school for those students that needed to work during the day. We had HomeLink for those students that actually do learn better online by themselves. And then we had James Taylor, the on-site ALE. And this is not personal to you. You are doing the presentation on behalf of someone else, but I have said this to the James Taylor principal, current and previous, that any success story that comes out of an ALE program is more than just the number. These are students that learn differently, and that does not mean that they are any less of a success. And so it may only be 12% or 20% or 30 kids. Those are our kids, most of them, I'm assuming. Some of them made choice transfer in. And when they cross that finish line, that is a success for them and for us and for our community. So I understand the reasons behind it. I hope that we will continue with WSLPs. So every course for every ALE student has to have a written student learning plan where they lay out the goals, and they have to hit certain milestones, and then every month they get a monthly progress report to see if they've hit those milestones. And I mean, that really should be learning for all students. But unfortunately, we can't do that with hundreds and hundreds of students. And I I hope we can communicate well with students and families about how this is affecting them. I hope we got feedback before this decision was made on how it was going to affect them. I think we may lose students over this because they will transfer into South Kitsap, which has also an amazing ALE program. Bremerton has one, and so I think we actually may lose students that are wanting to keep this type of learning because it suits their needs. That's all I have.
I want to say I'm with you. I do get it. Every student matters. Every student doesn't graduate is on us. It's our job to help them get there, and I take it personally. So we have to help all students in the ways that we can. And we are not done looking at the ways that we can possibly work those programs. They have to be able to stand alone financially in this really trying time that we're in right now. So right now, I think we're approaching this in the best way that we can to provide the best service for the most kids. And yeah, it's going to impact some kids. And we're just going to find a way to help them anyways.
Yeah, I like what you say about that. My son has done different layers of James Taylor, HomeLink, and where he's at now, and he deals with medical and some other things. And I'm a little nervous about the 50 kids that are going to be affected in that way, and even the Friday where that really matters for some kids to be able to do the 4 days, and then the one at home, especially with the high stress kids, ones that deal with the anxiety. I know that 4 days it's a big deal, but my kid's still there, and I'm really excited to see what you guys are going to do with this to go forward. And those checkpoints are really going to matter for us more than they've been done in the past. So I have my progress report with them tomorrow. So I'm going to add, I like that we're talking about it so that I get to add a little bit more questions in so I can stay linked in. So I'm excited.
Perfect, thank you.
I have a couple questions. So I know there's a process for James Taylor kids, like to be a part of James Taylor. If we're having HomeLink and night school kids become part of the regular James Taylor program, are the amount of kids that we're allowing to go, like to transfer from our high school to James Taylor, like are more kids going to be denied, or is there going to be a stricter process with letting them in because we have less capacity?
Great question. With our current capacity, I think we have 20-something seniors that are going to graduate this year. And so that creates, and then I think we're like 4 or 5 kids down right now, so that gives us about room for 30 kids. When we bring them all in, we'll be over capacity. And so we'll figure that out. There is a process for kids to get in, and they apply, and there's certain needs and that kind of stuff. It may make it a little bit more difficult. However, we've also really worked hard with the high school to help them refer kids that are needing that before it's too late. So it's easier referring a sophomore who's in credit trouble and struggling that may benefit from that. We're getting those kids in now. We're not waiting until the second half of their senior year for them. And so we've been working on that process as well. But yeah, it will create some tightness at the beginning, yes.
And then you mentioned the flexible classes, so kids being able to go up and take like a PE class at the high school. I'm more so thinking about the kids who transfer to James Taylor who have like anxiety issues or mental health struggles. Is their support going to differ if they're taking a class at the high school? Like let's say they can't handle noisy environments, but they really want to, take a PE class. Like, how are they going to be supported?
Will they be able to take a PE class at James Taylor? We're arranging that too. So, so somebody that has, let's say, anxiety, they really, really struggle in a big situation, that kid probably won't go up to the high school to take that class. We'll find a way to have them take that class at James Taylor. But somebody who does want it can. So it opens doors.
But
like let's say they want to, but they still struggle like with whatever and they need certain support, is there good, like they want a teacher to go with them or whatever, is there going to be support offered to them at the high school, or is there not enough staff for that?
For students that go from James Taylor for a class in the high school, the administrations will work together, say, here's the kind of supports this kid needs, and try to put those things in place for the kid, yes, for the students.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Christian.
Thank you.
very much.
Do you want to do, you want me to do enrollment, the superintendent report, or do you want to leave that break?
Let's go and do the superintendent.
Okay, great. So Jackie, if you could pull up the enrollment forecast as part of my presentation. Thank you. So, as you remember, the district has had a contract that is wrapping up with Flow Analytics that looks at projection enrollments for all the things that can impact the number of students that come to your school. They look at everything from birth rate to the number of students who roll over and continue from year to year. So for those of you who have been on the board for a while or watching board meetings, these first images will look very familiar to you. The green on the district is the Belfair Elementary, I'm sorry, the Sandhill Elementary outline, and the purple is the Belfair Elementary. And if you go to the next one, Jackie, this is an image that shows the population density for the different colors for the number of people that live in the different areas. So you can see that even though Sandhill has a greater number of acres in it, the population is not nearly as dense as it is down in the Allen area and in the Belfair area. So that part really has not changed that much. On the next slide, you'll see the census data from both Kitsap and Mason County and the school district from 2000 to 2010 to 2020. You can see there has been a little bit of growth. The growth overall for the whole district from 2000 to 2010 was 2.9%, and from 2010 to 2020 it was 1% growth. So we did get a little bit bigger, but not significantly. On the next slide, we have school district population by age group. So again, using census data that we had available from 2000, 2010, and 2020, you can see that the total population for 18 and over versus under 5 has grown from 2000 to 2010. Our under 5 population was at 3.5%, but from 2010 to 2020, it actually dropped to 0.4%, so less young children being born in the area. Whereas the population of 18 and over also has decreased from 3.5% to 1.1%. So if you go back and you look at the Flow Analytics reports from the last 2 years, you'll see very, very similar statistics in almost every single one of these slides. There's not been nearly as much change as was predicted several years ago when this decision to have the contract was made. So for the county population projections, what they do is they go through and they use all their different statistical methods to come up with a low, a medium, and a high projection on what they believe might happen in the county. So you can see from 2020 to 2030 and from 2030 to 2040, they have an average population growth in the low, staying in the 0% growth area, and then from 2030 to 2040 going up 0.1%. Whereas if you drop down and look at the high series, if tons of housing was developed or new business came in or for whatever reason, the high projection is that the county would grow 1.9% from 2020 to 2030 and 1% from 2030 to 2040. So when it comes to student generation rates, which is the next slide, the number of K-12 students per housing unit built from 2019 to 2023, we had single-family homes, 480 homes built during that time, and 232 multifamily units. During that time, it produced 72 students in K-5, in single-family, 38 in the middle school, 44 in the high school, whereas multifamily only had produced 1 student, K-5, 5 students, 6-8, and 7 students, 9-12. So not a huge amount of increase for the student generation rate over time. The next slide just shows us again where our different schools are, the Sandhill, the Belfair, and our current campus. The residential development that we are aware of on the next slide is listed here. So Flow Analytics goes and they works with the county and they look what kind of housing permits are currently either already completed or in the process. So they are anticipating the development of named Gateway, which will be single-family homes, which will, once built out, will have about 259 homes. It was in a pre-application process when they finished up this report right around winter break. Most likely it will be further out in forecast timelines once they're further along in their application process. And then there's a smaller development called Olympic Ridge, which is anticipated to have 28 single-family homes. There are 28 lots under construction, and there's still 145 lots that are still remaining in that unit. So altogether, if all the permits and everything went into process, that would be 287 additional single-family homes within our school district. Both of those developments currently fall under the Belfair Elementary attendance area. So the next slide takes a look at the historical enrollment by grade. So if you kind of follow the colors up, so if you look at the 2018 to 2019, the kindergarten group in kind of that orange color, if you follow them up, when they went from kindergarten to first, they gained 2 students from 178 to 180. Then from 2020 to 2021, during the COVID years, they lost 5 students from that initial cohort. And then 21-22, they lost additional students in that cohort and dropped down to 162 students. And if you kind of continue that diagonal line, you can see that it continued 168. In 5th grade, they had 170, and then last year they had 164. So altogether, that cohort from when they started in 2018, they didn't matriculate for a lot of different reasons all the way through. Like many districts, lost a lot of students during the COVID era to either homeschooling or online schooling. But altogether, from looking at our K-12 totals from prior to COVID, 2018-2019 school year to last school year, we have lost 8 students. And actually, compared to a lot of neighboring school districts, that's actually really good. There are some districts that are nearby that have lost hundreds of students. So when it comes to budgeting and having a stable enrollment, that's really important. So the students that are in Running Start and preschool are not included in this analysis. And then they also, you can't see it very well up there on the screen, but the low and the high number of students per grade are highlighted in blue and orange. If we move on to the next page, this just takes a look at the same data, but broken down by elementary school. So Belfair Elementary School from 2018-19 to last school year is actually down 110 students, where Sandhill Elementary from that same time period was up 58 students. And then from HomeLink to the K-5 HomeLink started at 0 and ended up at 0 after the COVID years. And you can see during that same time period, Hawkins lost 7 students historically. The high school lost 28 students. But then James Taylor gained those 28 students, or maybe not the exact same 28 students, but 28 students. And HomeLink grew from 15 students in 2018-19 to post-COVID high of 77, and last year down to 58. So altogether, from 18 to 19 to 24-25, only being down 8 students is a good place for the district to be. One of the questions that we often get is like, what are the transfer rates both within the district and from out of district, or from our district to somebody else's district or someone's district to ours. So you can see that of our total K3 or K5 enrollment, the majority of that comes from our own students within the district. From outside the district in K5, we have 44 students that transfer in, about 54 students who transfer out. So total transfers both in and out is 98. So altogether, the transfer rate from out of district is 4.7%. Intra-district transfer rate is 6.1%. So the greatest number of intra-district transfers actually happen at the secondary level, where it jumps up to 15.6% and 14.6% respectively. So a much higher transfer rate at the high school level. Usually students who are looking for either opportunities that our school has been able to offer, or programs or courses that other schools offer that we're not able to offer at North Mason. You can take a look at this next slide at the district births and kindergarten enrollment. So you can see that, again, it stays pretty steady. The birth forecast is pretty flat, as well as the kindergarten forecast for the next years, and this takes us all the way out from the birth year from 2012 all the way out through 2029. You can see there's a small increase from when the graph first starts. Go one more slide, Jackie. There you go. There is a small number of students being gained during that time, and then the school year students actually stays pretty steady, and the little jog shows us where it goes from the forecast. So 25-26 is forecasting what this year was, and it's pretty spot on. Our next slide shows kindergarten enrollment compared to ratio to births. And again, they do a low, a medium, and a high projection. So if we look at the 25-26 school year, the low enrollment projection for kindergarten was 144. The middle was 153, and the high was 162. And I'll have to pull my enrollment report up to see exactly how many on we are. We have actually gained some kindergartners since the school year started. As they progress over time, this again just shows us the ratio of grade level to grade level, from kindergarten to first grade to second grade, like what percentage of our students do we hold on to as they progress from year to year, all the way projected out to 2035, which, again, like, I know they have statistical models that do all this work for them, but it's hard to imagine that there's not going to be some kind of blip down the road between now and then that might have an impact. But overall, knowing that we have these low, medium, and high scenarios, and the district has had a challenge over projecting the number of students that we've had, which has ended up in a deficit with revenues and expenditures in our budgets. Mr. King and I were on a webinar today with WASBO, and one of the recommendations was not only just staying with your current enrollment as it is, but actually roll it back 5% to plan for your budget next year. Because from a budgeting standpoint, it's much better to have to make an adjustment that you had extra students show up than have to figure out how to make up a difference of $1 million like we do this year. So the low enrollment is pretty much spot on with where we are, and so the number that we'll use for projecting our budget next year will actually just roll it back 5% for our budget for next year. I'm not going to necessarily walk through every single one of these slides. They are almost identical to what you've seen for the last 2 years, but we're going to be not looking at a medium or high scenario. I think that this is data that will continue to exist and be available to us, but at this point, we're not planning on continuing our contract with Flow Analytics. If we have some kind of additional housing development or some big change in this part of Mason County, we can re-explore the need for that. But at this point, we feel like they've given us the data that the district had hoped to get for the last 3 years. Things have remained relatively stable, and for us, for a district, it really makes a lot more sense to stay with the low or the rolling back 5% scenario, which is what a lot of districts in the Mason and Kitsap County and Pierce County are doing at this point. So that all kind of rolls into like the very next slide. Actually, you're probably gonna have to skip forward a couple, Jackie. But, so that kind of takes us up to planning for this next year. So for people who are at the work session or have watched that board meeting, like you'll recognize some of these slides from that same presentation. For me, I think that it's really important that everybody always recognizes that every single space in a school district's a teaching and learning space. From the second our kiddos get on the school bus, to when they go to lunch, to being in the hallway, to being in the classroom. All those spaces are equally important and really necessary to ensure the success of all our students. As we go forward, one more slide, one of the things that we have been doing since I got here and the district's been doing since the levy loss last February is a lot of listening and trying to gather feedback from people. Obviously, our community has voted down the EP&O levy 2 times. That levy expired in December of 2025, so at this point, we're not gathering any additional funds from that. Prior to me starting in this position, the district already made over $3 million in cuts for this school year to account for not having a full year of levy dollars. If you go forward one more, I think that all of us in the district have really been feeling a large sense of urgency because there were so many less students, about 45 students less than was in our budget. That gives us that $1 million upside down of revenue versus expenditure that we need to be able to right size before the end of the school year. So not only did we have a double levy loss, we also have this budget that has a smaller enrollment, which has led to a deficit. The levy ask, and one more slide, Jackie, in February of 25 and November of 25 was in the amount of $5.5 million. And this was a decision that was made by the previous administration based on all the information that they had at that time that they believe it was best for the district. But different superintendents have a different way of looking at things, and so that's one of the things I've been doing since I arrived in July. Student achievement has to be at the heart of everything we do. And I think that unfortunately in the state of Washington, sometimes districts get put in a place where they're having to pick between providing required services, both legally and ethically, for situations like special education, and then having to make a choice between providing required services and extra services like band or athletics. Really, ideally, we'd have funding in Washington that would fund us for both. But since that is not the current funding model, we have to really rely on our local voters to help bridge that gap. So if you look at this next graphics, I tried to capture the idea that we do have basic education funding from the state, and it covers core instruction, transportation, and minimum staffing. That levy is really the bridge in the middle that then allows schools to provide a more full student experience. It funds athletics, arts, technology, safety, smaller class sizes, and really goes a long way to make sure that we are providing opportunities for all of our students. So the ask at the last board meeting was that the board take us back on the ballot in April at a lesser dollar amount than the $5.5 million. My proposal was $4.5 million levy ask, which reduces the rate to $1.01 per thousand. In February of last year, it was 5.5 was $1.32, and in November it was $1.28. So I was able to go through and identify reductions that I will be making before the end of the year. They'll be identified. Some of those cuts will go into place before the end of the year. Some of them will happen at the end of somebody's contract at the end of this school year. And we've begun having a lot of hard conversations about what that's going to need to look like. I am going to be restructuring the Human Resources Department and the Business Department and combining some administrative positions to really show that we are going to try to make do with less. All the positions that exist currently are all very important and very valued, but I am used to running a leaner district office than we currently have and know that it's hard, but it's doable. So there will not be a replacement for the human resources administrator, and the assistant superintendent role is going to be restructured in the business department. So some of that work is in the process of happening, with some more things to go. Because I really want the community to understand that if I say I'm going to make these cuts and not replace it if we are successful with a levy, I'm also starting a budget advisory group that will meet every 6 to 9 weeks, so that they can really stay in touch with our expenditures and our revenues, and be able to not just have the board and myself attest that we are spending our money on what we said that we would spend our money on, but the budget advisory group will also be able to share their opinions. So we will be looking for volunteers. We've already had some volunteers step forward. We're hoping to have community volunteers as well as school representatives, all different sectors. The only requirement is that you either live in the school district or have a student in the school district, and I'm really looking forward to getting that group together. If you go forward 2 more slides, Jackie, what would $4.5 million allow us to allocate for our students and the community? Of that amount, 48% of it would allow us to bridge the gap between our staffing of certificated and classified people, such as our counselors, our security officers, our special education supports, and paraprofessionals. The district has not had an allocated curriculum budget or technology infrastructure budget or facilities maintenance budget for several years. The money has had to be reallocated for personnel, and we cannot continue to expect that our students are going to continue to improve and achieve at a high level if we are not allocating money for resources and professional development for our teachers and for the students. Right now, my famous quote is that our technology is kind of held together with toothpaste and bubble gum, although one of our technology specialists told me last week that some of it's super glue, and that she doesn't have fingerprints anymore because she uses super glue so much. So our servers and our switches are often more than 12 years old, and they were due to be replaced around the 5 to 7 year model. So the fact that they're continuing to keep our HVAC working and our wireless internet working, and the security on the doors is really a miracle, but there needs to be a plan to begin to replace that in a way that allows us to have a plan for replacement that is responsible, but also not just a lick and a promise and a finger crossing that it's going to hold. Obviously, we've had a lot of deferred maintenance in the district. I mean, the most visible one was the community gym roof, but there's many places as you walk around the district or out on our grounds that we have some really beautiful facilities, and then we have some where things that would just be able to maintain it so that it stays in the spot that it is and does not deteriorate. There needs to be some money allocated for that as well. Athletics and activities, right now we are operating without what some people would call freshman team or some people would call C teams. We've had to really ratchet back the transportation that we've provided to games, and the levy allocation would allow us to restore the coaching stipends and transportation. The district has a policy that we will operate with a reserve. So basically like a rainy day fund. Last year the district had to vote to reduce it to the 4 to 6%. Typically the policy is 6 to 8%. A levy investment would allow us to build that reserve back up to the 6% target. And then because you never know when things are going to happen, like the boiler, for instance, died at our transportation department earlier this year. That was certainly not in the plans to replace it. We have a great team that tried everything they could do to fix it, but unfortunately it was past the end of life and could not be repaired. And so it's important, just like in your home, that you have a little contingency fund for unforeseen needs. So that's what $4.5 million would be allocated for in our district to support our students, staff, and community. And then without the April levy funds, like what's at stake is really everything on the list. So if you go one more slide, Jackie. So staffing over the state funded includes like smaller class sizes. It includes custodians that we currently have, paraprofessionals, health support, student safety officers, interpreters, substitute teachers, co-curricular for both middle school and high school, instructional programs, summer school, replacement cycles such as curriculum materials and equipment, as well as preventative routine and maintenance. We also are not eligible for the timber assessed value funds, which last year brought the district $600,000. Seems like double jeopardy to me that the state says you can't have those funds if you don't have a levy, but unfortunately that's where we are. We are one of 12 districts in the state that do not currently have an EP&O levy. 6 of those are schools that, 5 of them have students, less than 100 students, 1 has less than 700 students, and then there's the 5 of us. Districts that continue to operate without a levy often are in a situation where they're losing experienced teachers. Yelm is our most foreseeable example that we can point to. The number of students and staff that they've lost has just continued to spiral down. And as you lose more students, then you get less funding, which then kind of continues to feed that cycle of not having enough money to be able to provide the services that you need to be able to provide. So I'm thankful that the board voted during their special meeting to go back on the ballot in April. And, you know, we have a lot of work to do between now and then to be talking to our community groups and partners and sharing the information out. But I wanted to ensure that everybody knows that that is where we are as a district, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, you know, obviously we have a lot of work to do to continue to instill trust from the community. But I think that we can do that work, and we continue to be transparent and good partners, and that is what I wanted to share this evening. Got to answer any questions?
There's a lot of information, so
Yes.
I think you answered some of the questions while you were adding more in, so, yeah, for me anyway.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
We next have a presentation from our buildings on academic goals. And I will warn you, it's not a short presentation if you want to adjust your break.
Does anyone want a motion for a
It's-
5-minute
it's
break
up to you,
now, or
obviously.
do we want to wait?
I'm good plowing through.
Keep going. Okay, great. All righty. You're up. Mr. Ellis.
Excellent, thank you so much. Good evening, board. My name is Kyle Ellis. I'm Director of Curriculum Instruction here at North Mason. And we're really excited to share our academic goals. It actually ties in really well with what Dr. Michael was going through just now. I was a little nervous going right after all that information, but I think this is really the reason that we're all here, right? We want to see success for our students, and this is an opportunity for us to share our mid-year update with some review of the building plans and some of the goal progress that they have. So we'll kick it off like we always do with our district 100% vision. Many of you have seen this many times now, so 100% of our North Mason students reading at grade level by 3rd grade, 100% of North Mason 7th grade students at or above foundational grade level knowledge on SBA, 100% of North Mason 9th grade students on track for graduation, and 100% of North Mason students graduate 85% on time. This was our updated academic goals. The beginning piece was our 100% vision. Here's our academic goals. So we have a smarter balanced growth and achievement goal that our students in cohorts will see a 5% cohort achievement on both the math and ELA assessments. That's looking at from 3rd to 4th grade data, from 4th to 5th, and so on. And then we have our district assessment looking at the growth on our K-8 district assessment. So that's really how our buildings are going to monitor in-year progress and make some predictions and some changes based upon the data that we're seeing in our beginning, middle, and end assessment on both the FastBridge A rating and our Math iReady diagnostic. a lot of these are repeat from what we saw at the start of the year, but we've had some updated information from OSPI, so we're able to get the even a bigger picture. You can kind of see where we were across our graduation rate trends. So last year we're sitting at about 78% as a district, just below our 85%. And these are on-time graduation rates. Here's another comparison, and these are showing levels 2, 3, and 4 on the Smarter Balanced Assessment in ELA, Math, and Science. The Washington State average is what you see on the left. North Mason is what we see on the right. And we should, like I said, we shared this also in October. Another look across the grade levels for our ELA and Math Smarter Balanced scores for the 24-25 school year. This is kind of our starting point with our new cohort achievement data that our principals and staff are really looking at for those CSIP goals. Okay, so getting into actually where we're at on the progress. Last year was the first year we had done the iReady Math diagnostic. There's so much information that we pull from these assessments, and we're continually learning about the assessment and the different type of data that we get. What you see on the left is the fall to winter 24-25 progress to annual typical growth, and this is the median score. So the number right there in the middle was 52% of progress towards typical growth. And if you look on the right, that's this school year. Same kind of time frame for the assessment is 62%. So already seeing some pretty big gains across our K-8 math assessment. This is about 1,300, 1,400 kids that are in this assessment data set for each of these. So a lot of information right here. This is more around achievement to the grade level standards, but it also shows pretty significant gains in achievement for our district. Last year at this point, we had about 21% of our students that would be kind of on that early on or mid or above grade level, and this year we're sitting at about 28% of our students. And the numbers below show the increase from the fall as well. So if you're looking at the from fall to winter 25-26, we went from 13% that were on kind of that grade level trajectory to now 28% in the winter diagnostic. So a lot of our buildings have really focused on this stretch growth for the math diagnostic. This is really a good indicator of students showing success on the SBA. There's a lot of data that iReady has done throughout the nation to kind of show that if students are reaching that stretch growth multiple years, they're having that level 3 or 4 achievement on the Smarter Balance or state assessments. This shows a really good picture because what we want to do is shrink the numbers on the left and then increase the numbers on the right. At this point last year, we had 7% already meet their stretch growth, and then this year we're at 10%. Students that are not showing as much growth, that number shrunk by about 5% so far from this year compared to last year. So a lot of great things that we're seeing in math for the growth progress. So this information, this is our FastBridge A reading growth. We all, just like we saw before, we're comparing last year fall to winter to this year fall to winter. What we noticed on this as I was looking through this with principals is that our flat growth, there's less students achieving flat growth in that time, but we also have a bump in kind of that moderate growth, the from 17 to 26. Our big goal is to increase our typical and aggressive growth rates. Last year at this point, we were at 58%. This year, we're at 54%. So while we have some really good things that we're seeing on the math screener, we have some work, and our principals will be talking about some of the work that happens when it comes to ELA and reading achievement. Now, this is actually the achievement that is seen on the FastBridge A reading for the last 5 assessment cycles. So this is going from left to right, and this is our last school year to this school year. On the left, far left is fall of last school year, then in winter, spring. The 36% you see is this school year fall assessment cycle, and the 35% is our winter. So what we have noticed with about 5 years of A rating data now is that our winter, for whatever reason, we talk about it at every board member, seems to take a little bit of a dip on achievement, and then spring go back up. We saw a little bit of a dip from 36 to 35, but we do want to highlight that last year at this point we had 30% above the 50th percentile. Now we're at 35%. So we want to keep seeing those lines moving in the right direction. So kind of a district summary, some action planning. Some of this has already started. With district professional development, we started some mid-year scope and sequence work, especially at the elementary schools using the iReady data, making sure everything's data-driven. And then, as you know, there's the shift to semesters. There's some semester planning that has already started at our secondary schools. Another big piece, and we actually have one tomorrow at the high school, is intentional instructional walkthroughs, really focused in on those building goals and some work with their building leadership teams to develop or at least help support the intentional instructional walkthroughs. Continued work with PLC leadership, working with Solution Tree to kind of help us kind of that district to building growth in the professional learning communities, that Wednesday time that our teachers collaborate and how we support as a district and as building admin. And then if you didn't know, math and ELA are currently in the final stages of a standards review across the state. These standards will be initiated next school year. There's not a huge change from what the current Common Core standards are. I've started doing some professional development around this as well. And one thing that the state has done is created some priority standards, which is great because our teachers here have done a lot of that work already. So they had a group for the last 2 years work on these priority standards. What was really great to see when we put it side by side, our teachers had done a lot of that work already and already started aligned really well with what the state identified. So there's not a big shift for teachers on that. There will need to be some PD around the new standards for our teachers going forward, starting at the end of the school year. And pretty much next year is kind of that developed stage in the classroom. The new standards won't be assessed until 2030, but there's still some work to be done. Math and ELA standards review. Continued practice on assessment planning. Our high school last year did a little bit of a shift around how we do the Smarter Balanced Assessment. Still trying to tweak and make those even better to help support kids in an assessment environment. We've done some stuff with the WIDA assessments that are happening now to try to help support kind of and streamline that. We've had some students come down to the district office and work with teacher during that assessment time. So even more assessment planning as we get closer to that Smarter Balanced Assessment. And this is one that we added in here, working with the building principals at elementary. There's been a big focus for us on K-5 writing. We've noticed that it's been a struggle in our district with writing, and having teachers and admin collaborate to kind of create a guiding coalition around the writing standards and how we instruct and students learn writing from the time they're in kinder all the way through 5th grade. So what we expect every kindergarten student to be able to do at the end of the year, and see that progression all the way through 5th grade going into middle school. So that work is really kind of at the very beginning stages. I know our principals did a little bit of chatter with their building leadership teams, and we're still in the process of putting those together. So we're moving into the school presentations. What you'll hear is a review of the building academic goals. You'll see some progress to achieving those goals, a review of action plans, and an update on their any updated mid-year action planning that they are doing from the principal and the building leadership teams based upon some of the progress or data that they have. So up first, we'll have Sand Hill Elementary.
Hello, board. My name is Jessica Collins, and I am the proud principal of Sand Hill Elementary.
I'm Tyler Lundy, assistant principal.
And
equally proud.
Yes. I feel like it was maybe this time last year that I sat in front of, not all of you, but most of you, and said, we need to do better. And we're doing better, people. This is just really good work. Super proud to talk about this. Super proud of our teachers. Super proud of our kids. So the first slide we will be presenting is around our reading goal. And we would like 100% of our students to at least make a year's growth, if not aggressive growth. A lot of our kids that need to close the gap, we really want to see them make that growth. And if we continue to track aggressive growth and grow aggressively, they'll eventually catch up. And that is what we are seeing. The graph that you're seeing here demonstrates that we have seen an increase of 12% from last winter to this winter in benchmark. And the part that I really want to am so proud of is the reduction of the dark pink. That is our kids of risk. And you can see the trajectory. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. You can see that in the spring, we ended the year with 46% of our students at that benchmark or above. And we hit that in winter this year already, which is super great. Very, very proud. Also want to point out that I did the flat growth from 24% last year this time to 11%. So that means 24% of our kids made flat growth, no growth measured from fall to winter. This year only 11%. So it's a lot of good stuff happening.
So I'm going to share our math kind of progress with you. Similar to reading, we also want 100% of students making at least 1 year of typical or stretch growth. In math, it's a little different wording for iReady, but we really want them to focus on stretch growth too, because that helps close those gaps. But with this data, we're also excited to share that we found that students entered this school year with a just stronger entry level than they had last year, which is really exciting. So there's been a reduction of 2 or more grade levels from 175 students at that level to 85. We have more students who are at or above grade level, going from 33 to 136. And then many students are already meeting or exceeding typical growth at this point, with 30% of our students already reaching what is anticipated to be their year's growth already. So if you kind of look at the graph up there, it shows where we started in fall and where we are now. And you'll notice a pretty significant drop in the red zone. And while that kind of means sometimes an increase in yellow, that's how we get to green.
We'll take it.
Yep.
Closing the gap. Mm-hmm. So we've done a lot of work at Sand Hill between this time last year and now. And some of those things that we're really focusing on is really targeting our Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, making sure they are effective, making sure we're progress monitoring our students that have been placed in those tiered intervention systems, and making sure that the kids are actually tracking themselves and know where they're at. We have a specially designed Wednesday where all of our kids are tracking, goal setting and tracking their goals. So they are engaged in that process. It is built into the master schedule, and it's a beautiful thing to see. We also are doing a little bit of a shift. We were really focused on intervening our way out of some things, but we took a step back and realized we really need to also focus on Tier 1, that core instruction. And how we are doing that is really focusing our PLCs on making sure that we've identified, like Kyle said, those priority standards. How are we tracking those priority standards and students' growth within those? Making sure kids are goal setting around those as well. Identifying common formative assessments, and those are those little dipsticks to say, oh, I taught this standard. Do they know it yet? Nope. Did they get it when we're done? Also, we've had some what I call instructional bravery happening at Sand Hill, planting little seeds, and some of our grade levels, like our 5th grade, we've seen a huge growth in student achievement, and closing that gap in 5th grade. And our 5th grade team, this is it'll be now a full year, but they started mid-year last year with departmentalizing, which means kids walk to writing, they walk to math, they walk to reading. And so that those teachers are really able to focus on just teaching that subject and differentiating within that time frame for the kids that are in front of them. And the 5th grade data, if I could show it to you, it just would blow your socks off. It's incredible. It's been just so good. So we also now have a 1st grade team that says, you know what, our data wasn't what we wanted to see. So they just today started departmentalizing. So you're going to see little 1st graders walking to their writing class, their reading class. They have a phonics section and a math section. So we're really excited to see if that's going to produce what we saw in 5th grade. I'm very proud of that group of teachers. It's not easy to say, okay, 6-year-olds, you're going to do this work, but
They said today was phenomenal.
today was just the best day, so that's so great. And then we're just going to continue to have instructional bravery happening, have conversations, goal set, and hopefully continue to meet those goals because we're doing a great job. We're very proud. Any questions? Good job. Awesome.
I want to hear about the 1st grade.
Oh, yeah.
Then, yeah,
I
that'll be.
would talk you off, your ear off forever about it. It's great. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, Belfair Elementary School.
Hello again. Pam Klessman, Principal, Belfair Elementary School. It's getting late.
Christy Delby, Assistant Principal.
So looking at our data, just side by side, just took the 2 graphs, one from our reading and one from our math, and just put them there to start us off. So you can go ahead and there you go. So really focusing in on our ELA data right now. So you'll have to forgive me because it says winter 2025 and then winter 2026. I just went ahead and kind of mislabeled those. That's really should be winter 2024, but there you go, you get the gist of it. So anyways, what I really wanted to highlight with ours, we did have a slight dip in our overall progress. I think we're at 44 and then down to 42. So like Kyle had mentioned earlier, sometimes that happens in our winter diagnostics. So we are taking a deeper dive, looking per grade level at which grades took a little bit more significant dip than other grades and why that might have happened. So starting those conversations and what the plan is moving forward for the rest of the year for those grade level teams. When I looked at the data from the year before, some good news is our high risk category decreased by 5%. So to me, that was significant. And then our college pathway increased by 4%. So looking at that data, I think we're on a good trajectory. Some other things, when I looked up, just wanted to highlight some others. We had a really successful grade level team, and that's our kindergarten team, which to me speaks volumes. They went up 14 points from last year. And so with that data, looking at it, some of the things that they're really doing well are their phonemic awareness. And so looking at what they are teaching and how they are teaching it, and then having some of those grade level conversations, because that's the other thing we're doing really strongly in our building is vertical planning. So we have grade level teams meet with the grade level above and below 3 times during the school year to plan out, look at their priority standards, and are they holding themselves accountable to teaching what needs to be taught for the kids going up to the next grade level. Okay, and so next one. So Mrs. Dolby just found out she was going to present this.
I'm like, okay. So our math goal, so 24-25 school year, 28% of all students reach stretch growth on iReady Math Diagnostic. And for 25-26 school year, 40% of students will reach stretch growth on iReady Math Diagnostic. So for winter of 2026, our diagnostic has shown that our students at above and at grade level have increased from 46 students to 114. So that's great. And winter 2026 diagnostic has shown that 23% of students are making typical growth and 6% of students have made the stretch growth as compared to winter of 2025, with 21% of students making typical growth and 5% making the stretch growth.
So one thing we were trying to really do, we just went to a professional development with our staff, and through that we were looking at different ways to view data and different ways to allow our teachers to view data and to get the kids start looking at that data. And one thing that we explored was how can the kids look at stretch growth and what does that mean? How are we going to get the kids to buy in? And so through iReady training, they showed us a beautiful data point to show kids this is all you need to do to reach your stretch growth, because any child can reach stretch growth. Doesn't mean you're meeting benchmarks. It doesn't mean maybe you're still a grade level behind, but you can meet your stretch growth. And so by meeting stretch growth, we are getting closer at closing gaps. So how do we get the kids to buy in and invest in that? And so this year, end of the year, students were notified that they'll be having a donut party with Mrs. Dalby and myself should they reach their stretch growth, and then letting teachers take that view and start having those really in-depth conversations with the kids and showing them. So it was pretty funny the other day. I will share with you, when I was out greeting kids in the morning, I had one of the students run by me. She said, "You're Mrs. Klussman and you're the donut party person," because I'm only 10 points away. So I thought that was a beautiful moment where it matters to show them the data and for them to see it and explore their own learning. So our action planning, just sticking really true to what we said we were going to do at the beginning of the year, just looking at some really good practices, because even though we saw a dip, we are still seeing an increased growth. It's slow, it's steady, but it's still growing, and that's what we want to see. So our core instruction, 5 days a week, we hone in on our UFly lessons in the primary grades, because noticing that phonemic awareness really helps with developing good readers, and we're seeing that strongly in our kindergartners right now, moving up to the next grade levels. Grade level teams will continue to implement common formative assessments. To me, that is a golden standard, but they're designing them together in their PLCs. So when a PLC comes together, say it's third grade, they would come together, design that common formative assessment together, and say, this week we're going to monitor the kids on XYZ. They'll come back to their next PLC and look at what the data shows them. Do they need to change something in their teaching to make sure their kids are being successful? So really looking at it with a refined focus. We have PLCs to continue work in grade level teams, so we'll keep up with that vertical planning. We just did it for the middle of the year for them to identify their priority standards, what's working, what do they need to adjust a little bit. Now we're going to go into the springtime to look at writing. So designing some rubrics together. Continue to implement our WIN model. Teachers like the WIN model. They like to have their writing, reading, and mathematics scheduled same time in grade level blocks. So if they would like to switch kids throughout classes for intervention, they can. And they have found some teachers find that very successful. Some are honoring this year. We'd like to keep our kids with us and do those interventions within grade level or within our own classroom. So they're looking at their data to see which model is serving them the best. And then we're going to go ahead and continue to work on student-driven goal setting, looking at the excitement that we see with our students with just this one little, let's look at stretch growth. Looking at that excitement, we're going to see how good we get with that, and then we'll continue to move forward with more student-driven growth setting. So that's our plan. Any questions?
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Hawkins Middle School.
Good evening, Board. I'm Steve Hackett. I'm the principal at Hawkins Middle School.
I'm Scott Davis. I'm the assistant principal.
And I brought Scott up here today. He doesn't know this, but I brought him up here just to thank him publicly for you guys. He has been awesome for this transition. He has a ton of experience. He's really gone way above and beyond to teach me the ways of the middle school, because she's her own beast. It's a little bit different than we've had before, but he's done a great job. Ton of experience, and it really means a lot. So I wanted the board to know how hard you're working to get me on track. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate
thank you.
that.
Thanks. We got some goals here. The top ones, those are our SBA, so our state testing goals. Those are to increase 5%. On ELA as a cohort, we kind of talked about that earlier in the year. We track cohorts through, so we want 5% growth on that. And then the one in the smaller print is our Fast Bridge, and that one is a 10%. We want to see a 10% growth, so from 56 to 66. That is for reading. And then on the very bottom one is math. Again, 5% growth for cohort, and then 10% growth for iReady for the math on that one. And then you'll see the graphs there. Same thing as Kyle talked about, fall, winter, spring, from left to right. And you'll see some growth there. We're seeing some positive movement, which is great. From the fall from last year to the fall this year. The winter is also up, so that's gone really well. And then with math, we're seeing what was from 4% to 10%, so that's good growth. And then 16 to 18, so some movement there. It's going in the right direction. We want to see obviously bigger jumps, like Jessica and Pam were talking about also at those schools. We want to see those numbers continue to go, but it's nice to see some improvement with those. And then the last part that we have here is back to, I think multiple people have mentioned it, but Tier 1 is really the drive for everyone. What can we do for all students? And that is students taking the ownership of their learning. And we're really driving that home right now. Is we have to teach middle schoolers about letter grades so they know what an A, B, and a C is when they cross the parking lot. And that's been really a new thing for them, but to show there's still proficiency and growth attached to those grades. And here's what it is. And so it's been exciting to see that, and for parents to understand and work with us with that. With advisory, we're doing Monday and Tuesday. They're going on Mondays and they're checking their Skyward. So they know how to log in, they know how to look for missing assignments and see the connection of, oh, I didn't do 2 math assignments, weird. Now I don't have a good grade in math. Just to get that connection, and it hasn't always been there. So driving that home, that turn in your assignments, that will help us. This will be good. And then did that on Monday, and then the rest Tuesday they work on those missing assignments or create a plan to get those assignments done in their advisory classes. And our teachers have worked on some binder checks, some ways to make sure that their backpacks and binders are a little organized. Again, middle school life, sometimes those look like a bomb went off in them, but they're getting those. And so just getting things organized. If you get all of your if you get everything organized, it'll go so much further. So trying to start that before they cross the parking lot and get that kind of little head start for them. The other part to that is the family engagement, is get student ownership of the learning, but then also getting the parents working with us to work together as a team. Our teachers send out weekly failure reports. So every week is a different subject. The first week comes like ELA, and then the next week science sends it out, and then PE, and then math. They're also getting progress reports throughout it, but those specific subjects work every single week to make sure that they're contacting parents if they need that. Another thing that we did is we changed conferences to mirror what the high school does. To do arena-style conferences, we had everyone in the gym, and they could come through. We had a lot of great participation and amazing feedback. Parents really enjoyed it. They liked being able to be in there and talk to every teacher. The word they kept saying was, "This is so much more efficient. This is great. Thank you." And so it was nice to make a change early and not have it not go well. And so the parents were excited. Really, it was great to see them come in and then to get that partnership, because we know if we can get the students to understand, and then with family partnership, that's really going to create the success for those graphs to get all those numbers moving. We're going to need families and the students to all buy into it, and then great Tier 1 instruction.
I think we're just doing a lot of work with students directly. The counselors, all of our staff, everybody's really working with the kids as much as humanly possible and trying to improve culture around learning, improve culture around school pride, and making it fun to be there, but also serious academic work that's happening. And I think the teachers are taking the momentum and leveraging it, and we're starting to see some positive change.
Overall, we've heard that there has definitely been a positive shift in the culture at Hawkins, so we appreciate that very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a 12-year-old son, as Steve knows, and yes, he's been very excited about it, so thank you.
As is my daughter as well.
Nice to hear.
I'm I was just writing things down, but you have awesome energy, and Steve, you're really in your element here, and coming in and bringing what you have with the high school and bringing that over to bring the kids that are coming up to that, and you guys coming up here together, you guys just meld together, and there's excitement and energy, and I loved it, and I think that was just positive attitude and connection with you guys. I'm really excited. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Nice to
thank
hear.
you.
Appreciate it.
I have a non-attitude comment.
All right. That's good.
So, I love the dynamic duo, though.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Melted together?
Melded.
Well, okay.
Melted is even
Melted
better.
after.
I don't know if you
Use
said
that this
there long
afternoon,
enough,
probably.
maybe.
Like, yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I appreciate what you noted in the conferences, following the pattern of what's occurring at the high school. I think one of the challenges that we have as a district is having activities like that, having curriculum that all is feeding together towards one type of education. You know, we're not paddling the boat in different directions on different sides, you know. So I just appreciate that you recognize that in the middle school, it's such a, unifying force, and it's really bringing multiple groups together, different learning styles, and establishing a culture and preparing them for the high school. So I just appreciate that you've recognized this with the conferences, and I hope we can continue to do that as a district with the curriculum and with other things. So thank you both.
No, absolutely. I think next year's schedule being exactly the same for everyone on the secondary campus. I think there's a lot of things that need to mirror to show, hey, you're on the secondary campus, here we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you both.
I have just a quick question. How's the cell phone policy going for you guys? We hear about from high school. We should have a middle school advisor here, but how's that?
Yeah,
work
so
for you?
we, again, have mirrored what, the secondary campus to make things similar is today was the first day of putting the same consequences, if you want to call them, that the high school has to the first time you get your phone taken away, you pick it up at the end of the day, and then every time after that, a parent needs to come pick it up. And I think we had 6 phones taken away today, which... Yeah, and it's Monday after break. Maybe they saw them a little bit. They were a little attached to them. But we'll see now with, because there's a parent phone call that happened. Hey, your kid's phone was brought down. Next time, you're going to have to come pick that up. So hopefully, again, get that partnership of, hey, can we please get that phone? I don't want to have to roll in there and take time off to come pick up your phone. So it's early, but the teachers are really on board with it. They appreciate, and they're all working hard with that.
Kids seem okay with it, generally?
Yeah, they haven't. Yeah, they're nothing major. And again, to match what you were saying, Nick, I forgot, is to mirror with some high school stuff. On the 12th of March, I think it's the 12th, the International Festival.
Yes.
There's some high school staff coming down, and they're going to cook some food up and just to find ways to work together more like that. And Chad's been great with that to let us all, borrow some people. And so that'll be a cool event that's going to be really cool to see. The kids are working really hard at it, and the teachers always love that event. So I'm sure we'll have some pictures posted and get that stuff to you guys too. So, thanks. Yep.
Thank you.
North Mason High School.
Good evening, Board. Thanks for having us here. My name is Chad Collins, principal at North Mason High School.
And I'm Megan Resnichak. I'm Dean of Students at North Mason High School.
So she's our new Dean of Students. This is her first board meeting, and she asked me about a half hour ago, do I have to talk? No, so she's not going to be talking during our 3 slides.
Yes. I
But
can
she's
maybe
learning
riff
a lot,
little bit, but-
learning every day, and doing a great job.
Thank you.
And before I get started, I want to just echo how proud I am of Mr. Hackett moving to the middle school and hearing the small changes that they're making and how it's just going to benefit the high school. Hearing binder checks, grades, conferences, parents will be comfortable with that. It's exciting. It's exciting. So these are our goals that we presented in October. They haven't changed because we haven't taken this state assessment yet. So Smarter Balance is later in the spring. Our goals are the same. Cohort, our current 10th graders, we took their score when they were 8th grade, and our goal is 10% increase for ELA and in math. So next slide, Jackie. This is something that Megan's working on getting comfortable with. We don't have as much data throughout the year as elementary and middle school. We check grades monthly, but we really are focusing on our freshman success. Even though freshman year is the most important year of high school, toughest year. And if you figure out how to do it that year, you're probably going to have a pretty successful high school career. So we check grades monthly. And teachers that have freshmen, they submit us a name, and if they're failing once, and they have to contact the parent, and then the name comes to us, and we meet with them. And we're just another layer of support. What's going on? What can we do? Talk about organization, talk about their binder. We have a lot of supplies in the office. I'll oftentimes go get a kid a new binder and dividers and help them get their backpack organized, because we know an organized student is going to do better in class. So if you look at the yellow box there, our numbers are going in the right direction. We want it to go quicker. We think the work at the middle school is going to be helping us, and I'll talk in a minute the work going to semesters next year, how that's going to help also. Action planning. We're continuing to go school-wide with our AVID implementation this year. Every Tier 1, every classroom has some type of focused note-taking going on in their class. Maybe not every single day, but parts of the unit, and it's not just taking notes. It's the focused note-taking process where they take the notes, they go back and review them, they go back and highlight them, they go back and write down questions that they can ask the teacher the next day after they go home. It's a good way to learn, and it's going to benefit them once they leave our halls also. Continuing to grow our college and the high school program next year. Excited about that. I want to add as many as we can each year. My goal, my ultimate vision is students can stay at North Mason High School and leave here with an AA degree someday. So we're heading that direction. Next year, I believe we're adding, through Central Washington University, we're adding calculus. I believe through Olympic College, we're adding English 101, just to name a couple. The next bullet, accreditation. We have to be accredited. It's a 6-year process that a high school goes through each year. So colleges and universities take our credits. So we just went through it's a 6-year process, like I said, but on the 3rd year, you have to do a 3rd year review on how you're doing on your goals, kind of like we're doing right now. So Megan and I presented 2 weeks ago to a board through the ESD in Bremerton, and we passed, and Dr. Michael will be getting our accommodations and our 1 recommendation report here real soon. Kyle mentioned state testing format. We made some adjustments last year. Our scores showed improvement. We're going to continue that, dial it in a little more. It's essentially a 2-hour late start where we make it a big deal that 10th graders are there testing, and any juniors and seniors that need to also. But we also are going to continue and try to get a few more subjects in with 9th grade targeted interventions during that time. So kids ride the bus in. Classes don't start till 10, so last year we did some targeted math interventions during that time, so we plan on doing that again. And then some of the other work we're doing, our departments during the PLC time, they're working hard on the semester transition work, on what scope and sequence of their curriculum, on what they have to make some adjustments on what they can offer in semester 1 and semester 2 compared to trimester 1, try 2, and try 3. So proud of that work. People are excited about it, really excited about it. And I think you've heard this before, and I'll say it again, a year-long class, students will get 35 extra hours of instruction. So that's a big Tier 1 intervention, essentially, for moving to a new system. And we're hoping that's going to improve our grade reports monthly, because I have big goals with that as we work with our departments. And then Kyle also mentioned we've updated our Learning Walk tool and collecting data on our teachers' instructional goals and commitments, our AVID commitments, and we're doing that tomorrow afternoon in our building at 12:30 during the 4th period. So we're excited about that. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Welcome, Ms. Rose.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Turner again. I'm here for Mr. Quinn. Let's talk just a little bit about the goals for James Taylor. Before I start, I want to a comment I forgot to make in my earlier presentation. when we talk about our alternative programs and the shifts that we're making, Mr. Quinn is not making them by himself. He's making it with a team of us, including me and the superintendent, so it's a collective process. So he's just the face, and he has intimate knowledge and all that kind of stuff, but I wanted to make sure that everybody knows he's not making it by himself. Second thing is, Nick, you made a comment about, to Steve, about it's nice to see some of the continuity with the high school and middle school. That's also part of semesters. All of our secondary schools are going to be on the same schedule. All of them are going to have one advisory. And so that also creates a lot of continuity between the schools that we can do great work. So I'm glad you made that comment, it made me think of it. So middle school, high school, and James Taylor are all in the same thing. So James Taylor academic goals. Mastery-based learning. You guys can see the goal. It's what they had. At least 90% of students enrolled in mastery-based learning credit will earn their credit. And currently, when they go by terms, and a term is a half of a trimester. So we've gone 3 terms at the end of the 3rd term, which I think is about the 3rd week of January. 71 out of class mastery-based learning classes taken. 71 out of 80 kids earned credits for them. And so that's 88.75%. That's really close to the 90%. Kids are doing it, doing a great job, so they're on their way to the goal. Next one. So Edmentum, they had a goal for Edmentum as well, and Edmentum is our online learning classes. And the goal, again, was 90% of students enrolled in those classes will indeed walk away with credits for those classes. Currently, at the end of term 3, 159 out of 195 classes were passed. So that's an 82% passing rate, which is a good passing rate, but not where we want it to be. We want to be at 90%. And so they're going to continue to work for that, and a lot of stuff that they're working, the progress monitoring to help kids get to that goal is what they're putting in place to make sure that kids do reach that goal. Okay, what's working? They established weekly check-ins for each student and a one-on-one in a group to ensure that their progress, they're doing those weekly progress things. They're supporting off-track students through small groups or one-on-one tutoring. So even having some kids come in on Fridays to help with one-on-one tutoring. And communication with home when students fall behind in progress. So trying to create protocols within the building that says we will contact at these for sure, so it's not just left up to chance. It's a protocol to get it done. Student voice and feedback. Students describe mastery-based learning classes as engaging, interactive, and enjoyable, increasing the motivation to attend and participate. And you can see they're passing those at a greater rate, and they're probably more rigorous than the online courses. Students appreciate the balance between independent hands-on work and direct teacher interaction, which strengthens and understands the connection to school. And last, students value the ability to work at their own pace, which allows them to manage learning alongside personal responsibilities. The last bullet aligns with the Edmentum online courses. The first 2 align with the mastery-based learning courses. So those are their academic goals that they're working on. Any questions for me? I may be able to answer them for Mr. Quinn. Thank you.
Thank you. So to kind of close this up, we presented this at the very beginning in October, some inputs, immediate outcomes, and long-term outcomes. We are, like I said before, I was happy to present after Dr. Michael here because hopefully we're seeing a lot of the great work that the people behind me and the staff at each and every building are doing. It hasn't shown up yet on the long-term outcomes in Smarter Balance, but we're seeing the work on our district assessments. If those district assessments line up nicely with Smarter Balance, we will start seeing the achievement on those assessments as well. So hopefully you're seeing all the hard work that everybody in this room and the staff at each and every building are doing. So any questions kind of for the district level piece?
I don't have a question, but I do want to say that I really respect all the patients on the different, all of our leaders are working with the different levels of maturity, and especially there at the middle school. But it really matters when you have a dynamic duo. The 1 and 2 there, and I'm seeing it, and I'm not commenting on anybody previously that was with us, but I really see dynamic duos here doing good work. So I'm excited for going forward. I think we've got a really good team, and welcome, Megan. I haven't met you yet, or you've been with us for a while. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Right. The only comment I'm gonna make is 3 years ago, you sat here and presented a lot of data, and you started going through a lot of this stuff. And now we're seeing, I think, a lot of the fruits of the hard work you put in, Kyle. And I know you are that piece that's feeding a lot of this out here and putting the data together and helping these guys and giving them help where they've needed it. And it's just outstanding to see the growth that we're now seeing. We're just scratching and just clawing our way, but that's how we start. So
appreciate hearing that. Yeah, we have there's so much hard work at any of our admin meetings and any of the work that we're doing. We're getting this information out, having the conversations and trying to put in the work to see student achievement. I think you're starting to see that trend. So appreciate hearing that.
And I think even after 3 years, finding things like, for example, the writing with the elementary, there's just still areas of growth that we can find, and I'm excited to see that, because I think the writing diagnostics, et cetera, will really help with the reading also to bring that along. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So next we have a budget status update. So if you could pull up that presentation from Mr. King, please, that would be helpful. There we go. So go ahead and go to slide 2. So each month we get additional information from the state, and so we are constantly looking at our budget at both the revenues and the expenditures. This slide you see each month, which has our budgeted revenues, our budgeted expenditures, and a reminder of what our fund balance was at the beginning of this school year, which is $2.7 million, and our ending fund balance is currently expected to be around $2.3 million. On this next slide, this is the one I think that Mr. King and I spend a lot of time looking at, is that our revenues and our expenditures are, they fluctuate each month with the way the apportionment comes in from the state. I really wish that it was 1/12 each month, but that's not the way it is set up. So after our first month, the difference between our revenue and expenditures was negative $576,000. And you can see in January with the decreased enrollment, at the end of January, the difference between our revenue and expenditures was just shy of $1 million, negative $804,000. So the February apportionment report just was released earlier today. So a lot of the work that we'll be doing the next several days together is taking that data that we have from the state and looking at our revenue expenditures, our student enrollment, and we do anticipate that it is not going to have improved from January to February, just because the budget and the revenue did have that $1 million difference. If you go to the next slide, you can see that this is the one that shows our year-to-date status. I think the important percentage to focus on is that fund balance. At the beginning of the year, the school district started with a 4.98% fund balance. And at this point, at the end of January, our fund balance was down to 2.5%. Again, we get a little bit more of apportionment money during the month of February, not significantly more. So we do not believe that we're going to see a significant increase to our fund balance. We continue to make changes and to try to cut costs so that we can come in at the board-approved policy of that 6%. But we know that we have a lot of work to do to get there. I think the next ones are just, again, different depictions of the same information, the general fund summary, and the difference between our fund balance month by month. We spend a lot of time getting support from our ESD, which has been really valuable, meeting with them weekly to, again, get advice and see what kind of changes that we can make to come in closer to zero. So strangely enough, I guess in my opinion, strangely enough, we just found out what our transportation budget was for this year today. So to me, it's a little odd that in February, that's when you find out what your transportation budget is for this school year. But we did, and we were relieved to see that our transportation budget was $10,000 more than what we were anticipating. So the state got rid of what's called transportation safety net this year, so that was a source of funds that we knew were not going to be available. And despite that difference, the transportation budget came in today, like I said, $10,000 to the positive. So we'll take every one of those dollars that we can get and go from there. And then the last page shows our enrollment summary. We did lose some students from January to February. So we went from 2,276 students down to 2,253 students. Now we know this is a time of year where there's a lot of kids who are sick and a lot of illness going through families, and so we are really taking a look at our analysis of enrollments and unenrollments to see, like, did we actually lose students or did we just actually have not great attendance due to illness that first week when we do the count week. But everything else, you know, again, I wish I had a rainbow rosy glass to say that, you know, we've magically managed to fix the difference between our revenue and expenditure, but we continue to do that hard work of looking at every single expense we have to see if it's a need to have versus a want to have, to try to get to the board's goal of that ending fund balance. So any questions on budget reports? Okay, great. Well, that is the end of my reports. We have legislative rep next.
Yes.
Yes. So legislative session's going through. They're continuing to do the big three as they are with the MSOCs. It's typical. There is one out there that I found was interesting with they're changing SCAP funding. And there was a bill out there moving through to change, and if you guys don't know what that is, it's when we're building a new building, so if we ever replace any of our buildings, that's the amount of state funding that is allocated towards that, and they're trying to work to increase that, which is a good thing. So past that, most of it's still sitting in committee right now. There's nothing really on the floor yet. So, but Christine, anything else to add from what you've been looking at?
There is certainly a plethora of bills that are out there, and we certainly are looking forward to seeing what that final budget is, so that we can continue to plan.
That's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have a WIAA report?
Yeah, for the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, they're currently looking at 35 different amendments across the board. Most of them are minor tweaks. I saw 2 of them that would be of kind of interest. There's the hot button one that refers to girls' athletics and biology, essentially. The WIAA does not have, they're only taking an advisory vote in that. They don't really have a say because of state law right now, so we're collecting feedback and kind of getting feelings, but they don't really have much of a say in changing anything there. The other one that I thought was interesting was 11.1.0, which is communication arts and leadership eligibility requirements would be the same as for athletes, with the exception of physical examination. So I had not seen that one on there before. So if that one passes, it may change some of our requirements and some of our eligibilities for some of our extracurricular activities that are not athletics. So I will keep you posted on any developments in that department. So, but yeah, we're just collecting advisory and finding out what the boards and especially athletic directors think in preparation for the vote later on this year. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we want to take a 5-minute recess now, or just keep, yeah, I'm getting a yes. Okay, can I get a motion for a 5-minute recess, please?
Make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
Second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. At 8:33, we will take a 5-minute recess and reconvene at 8:38.